Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras, and coming up in today's newscast, Israeli security in full force amidst the holiday spike in threats of terror. Meantime, Iranian kamikaze drones targeting Jewish pilgrims in Ukraine. And finally, Israel again competing in world athletics, but with a life-saving twist. Coming back today from the Rosh Hashanah Jewish New Year holidays, Israelis are reeling from a number of interesting developments. Israelis and visitors to the country from all walks of life getting their last-minute shopping in ahead of the holiday closures earlier this week for the Jewish New Year holidays, or Rosh Hashanah. And Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Lapid, wishing Jews around the world a Shana Tova, or Happy New Year, along with his wishes for the coming Jewish year, 5783.
My hope for the Jewish people this year is that we remember we are one family. It does not matter if you're Orthodox, secular, Reform, or Conservative. It does not matter which synagogue you pray in, or if you pray at all. We should focus on what unites us and know how to talk about the things we disagree upon. That's what a family does.
But while families gathered in synagogues to hear the traditional shofar and around the dinner table for the annual festive meals, Israeli security forces were hard at work, keeping escalating threats at bay, especially amidst a surge of visitors to the Western Wall and the Temple Mount complex, which Hamas and other Palestinian groups condemn. Police in East Jerusalem clashing with violent demonstrations for 3 days in a row, dozens of masked rioters lighting fires and throwing stones and fireworks at officers who responded with non-lethal dispersal methods, and dozens of Palestinians arrested. Additionally, gunmen opening fire on Israeli soldiers in the West Bank multiple times over the last few days, as IDF troops arresting terror suspects, including in Jenin, around the home of the terrorist who attacked a bar in Tel Aviv last April. And at least 4 Palestinian militants, including the Tel Aviv terrorist's brother and members of the Islamic Jihad and Fatah al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, reportedly killed in the aforementioned violence, 9 others reportedly injured. Israeli officers saying the suspects involved in a number of shooting attacks in recent weeks and had been planning, quote, more significant attacks in the near future. Meantime, PA President Abbas reportedly discussing the future of Israeli-PA relations on the phone with Israeli President Herzog and Defense Minister Gantz. This just days after Prime Minister Lapid's speech at the UN, in which he expressed support in theory for a return to two-state negotiations. But given the ongoing violence, the PA's incitement, and the PA security forces' involvement in recent attacks, it's unclear how much traction these calls will receive. And now with more on the holiday security challenges, CEO and founder of the Israel Defense and Security Forum, Brigadier General Reserves Amir Avivi. Brigadier General, thank you so much for joining us again. Starting with escalations at the Temple Mount, in part this has been blamed on the heightened Israeli presence and visitation during the holidays. What do you say to those who argue that Israel is changing the status quo and inciting a response?
Well, I think Jews have every right to visit in the most sacred place for Judaism, the Temple Mount. I think that even talking, not from a religious point of view, but from a civil democratic point of view, a religious place, every human being who feels that he wants to be close to a place that is important for him has the right to visit. Now, I think that terror organizations are trying to use visits to Temple Mount as an excuse to carry out terror attacks. And if we surrender to that, the result will be more terror attacks and more demands.
All right, now, officials from terror group Hamas have been putting a lot of effort into escalating tensions in Jerusalem, as you insinuated a moment ago, particularly around the Temple Mount, though. But largely, this has not come to pass as Hamas had hoped. Is this due to Israeli intervention or a drop in the willingness to engage in violence on behalf of Hamas? Maybe even a drop in belief in Hamas's word?
Well, it seems that at least in the short term, Hamas is interested, on one hand, to keep Gaza quiet so it can rebuild economically. But Hamas is putting all its efforts to incite Arabs in East Jerusalem and in the areas of the Palestinian Authority and in Judea and Samaria. At the end of the day, strategically, Hamas is focusing on taking over the Palestinian authorities. This is the main goal. This is what they are aiming to, and this is the main effort. Part of this is leading the Palestinian society and claiming they are the ones that are fighting for their interests and for Al-Aqsa, Temple Mount, and so on. This is part of the strategy that Hamas is carrying forward.
And now, contrary to earlier reports, including our own, it seems that all 4 of the militants killed in Jenin were from Fatah's Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades. But meantime, Fatah leader and Palestinian Authority President Abbas is speaking about peaceful negotiations with Israeli President Herzog. So is Abbas being two-faced, so to speak, or has the Palestinian Authority lost control of its own security forces?
Well, both. I mean, it's the Fatah, it's Abbas that is paying billions of shekels to terrorists. Abbas is the one who is going to pay also the families of these terrorists that were killed by the IF. He is the one inciting in education system of the Palestinian Authority. He is the one delegitimizing Israel everywhere around the world through the BDS and other organizations. On the other hand, he doesn't want to lose the complete control of the Palestinian Authority, but everything he's doing is helping lose control. So he's not very coherent. On one side, he's talking to Israeli leaders. On the other side, he's inciting, he's paying terrorists, he's delegitimizing, and now he's feeling the consequences of everything he has done all these years.
All right, now we've also seen reports that a major tragedy was narrowly averted along the Israel train line as someone reportedly put a large object on the tracks that could have caused a derailment. How would we know that this was terror-related? As of now, the only supposed suspect has been cleared of suspicion and released.
Well, first of all, we know that somebody tried to sabotage the train. The police and the Shabak need to go in depth, get their intelligence, and put their hands on the right person who did it. Until we catch this person, we really cannot know who did it. But we do see parts of the Israeli Arab society who are also involved in terror, also affected by Hamas, Islamic Jihad, also joining organizations like the Muslim Brotherhood, whether it's the northern part or the southern part. So definitely we need to be on the alert, especially now in the holidays.
All right, Brigadier General Avivi, thank you again so much.
You're welcome.
Moving now to Europe, despite repeated warnings, thousands of Hasidic Jews have made their annual New Year's pilgrimage to Uman in Ukraine. But as expected, their safety has been called into question. ILTV's Kayla Eberlin reporting.
The writing was on the wall, and the calls to stay away were made explicit. Yet, in spite of warnings, thousands of Jews still made the trip to Uman, Ukraine, for their annual New Year's pilgrimage. And, as expected by Ukrainian officials, the celebrations reportedly targeted multiple times by Russian forces. In fact, Ukrainian media saying Ukrainians shot down at least 10 Iranian suicide drones that were launched by Russia towards Hasidic religious sites with large gatherings. Further, Ukrainian security officials saying that planned acts of terror against Israeli citizens was a condition of the Iranian drone sale to Moscow. Meantime, Israel not officially responding to the reports from Uman, but Jerusalem is recognizing Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, while clearly rejecting Russia's referenda of annexation in the eastern territories. This, after occupied regions in Ukraine holding a vote to merge with Russia, a vote that has largely been panned as rigged, especially as Russia seemingly losing popular support for its invasion of Ukraine, as hundreds of thousands of Russians seen fleeing the country in miles-long queues, following Moscow's announcement of a draft.
Люди, которые против режима, которые как бы не готовы идти. То есть они готовы воевать. Если идет война за правду, за война, как это, война, которая была бы, ну, справедливая. То есть, когда ты защищаешь свой дом, это справедливо, да, ты идешь, тебе не страшно. А когда ты идешь на изначально глупую войну, убивать своего брата, это война ни о чем. И поэтому люди уезжают от этих, как бы...
To watch full episodes of ILTV's Israel Daily and tons of other content from Israel, visit our website at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app.